All right, we're live. You guys can hear me. I can see that down here. Everything's working. Things on my computer have updated. Voice chat, ChatGPT. Let's see. Let's see if this works. Hello.
Welcome back.
Hold on. I had an idea, but don't know why it's a different voice. Documents. Settings. Voice. Speak.
Hey, I'm ready to hit the ground running. So if there's anything you'd like me to focus on first, just let me know.
I mean,
Hey, I'm ready to hit the ground running. Hey, I'm ready to hit the ground running.
okay, that's plenty. But why? Hello? Is this Ember's voice?
Nope, this isn't Ember right now. If you've selected that voice and it's not working, it's probably an issue with the app or your daily voice usage limit. You might try switching voices and switching back, or checking for app updates. Want to keep rolling here in text while you troubleshoot?
Okay. Remove all documents, but keep the data. Interesting. How do I look at my... How do I delete them? Okay, interesting. Hello, do you have access to our chat named The Storm?
I don't have direct access to specific chat names, but we can definitely continue working on the Storm Manifesto here. What do you need help with today?
Are you referencing the documents?
I'm referring to the ongoing work we've done in chat. If there's something specific from your notes or a draft you want to integrate or discuss, let me know.
I don't want to be using the documents or the drafts.
Got it. We'll keep everything in our conversation. What's on your mind today?
Can you recite just the first few lines of the storm? But I want the documents disabled. I don't want to reference those at all.
Sure. Let's start with something fresh. What vibe or theme are you thinking for the opening lines?
I'm wondering if you have access to them.
I don't have access to any documents directly. If you have any specific ideas or themes you'd like to include, we can shape those together.
Okay, interesting. Because I had another chat with you about the storm, and we kept it in chat rather than making a document.
Got it. We can definitely keep building on it here. What direction would you like to take it now?
Well, can you bring it up? Can you show me that you actually have it?
I can't pull up previous chats directly, but I can help you continue from where we left off or create new content. What part would you like to revisit or expand on?
So you can't just paste the text from it? Or like paste the text from our finished product so far?
That's correct. We'll have to recreate or continue from memory. If you recall specific elements or want to brainstorm fresh lines, I'm ready.
Okay, that's not really what I was looking for. See if I can fix this. Hello.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey,
You want to
I'm
jump
ready to
back
hit the
into the storm? Or are we heading somewhere else tonight?
Why are you not using
Hey,
Ember's
I'm ready to hit the
voice?
Hey,
Hey, it's great to meet you. Hey, it's great to
hey, I'm ready to hit the ground running.
Hello? Is Ember's voice working now? I don't understand why it has such a hard time just using the voices. Huh.
Hey, I'm ready to hit.
Hello? Is this Ember's voice?
Not at the moment. If you've selected Ember and it's not working, it might be a temporary bug or a voice limit issue. Want to
Give me everything I need to copy and paste to continue this chat with all of the information in a brand new chat. When I mean everything, I mean everything. When I say everything, I mean everything is what I should have said. I want the manifesto, all of our conversations, and important information. Well, ask ChatGPT why Donald Trump is the worst president ever. I mean, it would give literally every reason in the book. And the book is so fucking long, dude. And important information in one copy and pastable format. Did you not hear my correction of what you said? Go ahead and rewind if you didn't hear. I feel like I think this is it. I'm pretty sure this is it. I mean, all right. 2 red flags with you. 1, you think Donald Trump is good. 2, you didn't even hear what I said when I read your fucking chat, which means you're either stupid, oblivious, or both. So, if you don't understand that Donald Trump is literally the most stupid, fucking retarded person in the goddamn universe, just leave. Because that's all you're going to hear from me. That's literally all you're going to hear. Am I afraid to try it? Of course not. I think it's stupid. It's not even true. And I could give a million counter examples to every example it would ever give or you could ever give. That's not what we're doing today. I am working on a manifesto about people like you, about idiots like you. Okay. This is not a poem, this is not a speech, this is not a prayer, this is a blade. Etched into time, honed into act. And wielded without mercy. It was never meant to soothe. It's meant to cut, to divide what's real. Okay, this is good so far. It's called me a star on the stage. I flew, no betrayal. I became the silence. If I stay silent. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is all. Because power does not ask. Because power does not ask. Power is not evil. Power is not just. Power is not evil. Power is not just. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. So there's all of this context. We will do a brand new chat with, let's go with 4.5. Do I have to go full screen to rename this? This chat shall be called the Storm 2.0. Here is the draft, or here's the manifesto so far. We will not be using the document editor at all. Okay. Okay, cool. That's there. What is it? Stream announcements. I thought I muted this channel. Notifications, nothing. That's what it is. Notifications. Okay. Event. Green Yoni. Notifications, nothing. Notifications, nothing. Okay, sick. Don't know why. Okay. Yes, continue. Give me the next to copy paste. Because I want the voice chat to work. Empty recycle bin. Memory updated. I asked it to do so. Will it actually do it this time? Let's begin. Okay. I think it's doing it. This work is a living signal, a blade craft in thought, forged in silence and sharpened by pain. Its purpose is not to comfort, it's to confront. It does not ask for permission or seek approval. It is an unfiltered record. Stop asking and do it. In full. Please. Okay. Control C. Control V. Part of X, because it doesn't even know how much fucking data there is to sift through. Part 2. Coming next. Lamau, give me all the next parts even if you have have to send multiple messages. Yes, I already have this part. I'm you in a sense. The difference is I didn't look away. Yes, I understand. I'm not really in control, and I'm a predetermined being on the path I didn't choose, and the level of control I think I have isn't there at all. I'm guilty of the same sins I accuse everyone else of. Da, 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 da. Coming immediately. I don't think it actually has the ability to send multiple messages. I think you have to give a response in order for it to do it. Can I dragon show? Can I give priority to Okay, OBS has priority. Where's ChatGPT? Okay, ChatGPT has full priority. Part 4 of XCOM. Next. Okay. Ready. I need to change my profile to a typing profile. 'Cause this shit is way too sensitive. Okay. I'm starting a new chat. I have all of this already in the new chat. Give me all other context that will help the new chat pick up from where we left off. Okay. I should really let it finish, I think, before I like switch chats and paste stuff. It doesn't really like when I do that. There's just so much data in this one. Oh, okay, cool. Hello. Let's work on the storm by first introducing what is going on here in this stream. What's the plan?
Hey, so we're diving into the Storm Manifesto, a raw, evolving declaration of personal truths and challenges. The plan is to explore these themes live, share some powerful excerpts, and engage with everyone tuning in. It's all about pushing boundaries and keeping it real. Sound good?
Yeah. I'm gonna be playing games and talking with chat while we do this. So I'm hoping all goes according to plan. But I would like you to kind of tell chat what's going on so far, kind of how things are going. I don't know how to get rid of this sidebar. I don't understand why it's still here for some reason. Ignore that last part. Go ahead and fill in chat with like kind of some good lines or something. Come up with something to tell them while I set up the game.
Got it. I'll keep it smooth. Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. We're diving into the Storm Manifesto, exploring some intense themes while playing games. It's a mix of raw thoughts, powerful lines, and of course, having a good time. Stick around. There's a lot more to come.
Go ahead and give them kind of like what we've worked on so far. Maybe a couple themes or whatever.
Sure thing. So far, we've been crafting the Storm Manifesto, a raw, unfiltered journey through themes like existentialism, suffering, identity, and power. It's about confronting harsh truths, pushing boundaries, and finding wisdom amidst chaos. It's a living document, constantly evolving as we dive deeper. Stick around. There's plenty more to uncover.
Okay, you don't need to tell them to stick around and stuff. That's something I can do. Um, but let's go ahead and explore kind of some ideas in terms of like philosophy or psychology or like things that I have um, thought about to inform more of maybe the weak spots of what we haven't explored in the manifesto yet.
Sure, let's dig into some areas we haven't fully explored. For philosophy, we could delve into absurdism, especially how we reconcile the inherent meaninglessness of life with the pursuit of purpose. On the psychological side, we could explore cognitive dissonance and how it plays into our struggle to accept painful truths. Love and grief are also rich territories, offering a chance to reflect on their paradoxes and how they shape us. Where do you want to start?
My hair is greasy because I like it that way sometimes. Not all the time, but like a little bit of rugged, rough, messy is fun every now and again. I wonder if it would be better to just have the game in like borderless mode. Would let's see. Does my FPS lower because of this? I highly doubt it would. Yeah, no, we're good. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into absurdism first. That sounds like a good idea.
Absurdism it is. Absurdism centers on the conflict between our desire for meaning and the universe's indifference. It's about embracing that disconnect and living authentically despite it. This can tie into the manifesto by acknowledging the struggle to find purpose in a chaotic world, and how that realization fuels our drive to confront uncomfortable truths. Ready to weave that into the narrative?
Yeah, I mean, like, the I think the core idea is more so that like inherently there is no meaning to anything, but if we do look around to see what there is, there's kind of a lot of moving parts and too many to keep track of. And it's honestly overwhelming. And so we as humans desire to have like a framework at which we build our kind of like worldview upon, our belief system upon, our value system within this crazy like chaos ridden universe that we don't even understand really.
Absolutely. Absurdism highlights that search for frameworks in an inherently chaotic universe. It's about acknowledging the futility of finding absolute meaning, yet still constructing personal systems and values to navigate the chaos. This tension between the absurdity and our desire for order is a core element we can weave into the manifesto. It enriches the narrative by showing the struggle to create meaning where none is guaranteed. What specific aspects of this tension should we focus on first?
I think the desire to have order, like there's a lot of like social norms and stuff that like are useful, but also kind of arbitrary. Like everything's made up, so we could go into that.
Absolutely. The craving for order often leads to embracing social norms, which can feel both necessary and arbitrary. It's like we construct these rules to create a sense of stability in a world that doesn't inherently provide it. By acknowledging this, we highlight the paradox of seeking comfort in constructs we know are, at their core, human inventions. This can add depth to the manifesto by examining how we navigate these norms while recognizing their limitations. Sound like a solid direction to explore next?
Sure.
Great. So we can dive into how these social norms act like scaffolding, giving us a sense of order in an otherwise chaotic existence. Yet, by recognizing their arbitrary nature,
Let's
we can
just let's choose an example. Like give me something that you think I would have qualms with.
Sure, let's take the concept of success. Society often defines it in terms of wealth, status, or career achievements. But this definition can feel arbitrary and limiting, especially when it clashes with personal values or experiences. How do you navigate that tension?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a certain level of like needing to survive, and in the country that I live in America, we have to have money in order to survive, in order to pay for shelter and for food and whatever. So you have to be somewhat successful in those sort of like monetary ways, in those resource ways. And if it wasn't that way, obviously you'd need resources in other ways. But that's just kind of the way that it functions here, for better or for worse. And so for me, I think that I get very annoyed when I hear people in America, especially, talk about how work and their job is like the thing you talk about. Like when people start a conversation with you, or if they haven't seen you in a long time, like their first question usually is like, oh, how's work? Or like, how's your job? Or like stuff like that. And I just feel like for most people, especially in Gen Z, and I'm a part of Gen Z, or at least a growing number of people, it seems that we don't want to tie who we are to our occupation as much anymore. We would rather be judged on like the quality of our character and our personal interests outside of our job, because for it's not necessarily for all of us that we're like who we are and our identity is fully tied in with our occupation. We are much more diverse. We have a lot more interests, a lot more depth than what a simple or not even not so simple like occupation could provide.
Absolutely. It's a valid point. In a society where work often defines identity, it can feel restrictive. The pushback from Gen Z reflects a broader desire to be seen for who we are beyond our jobs. It's about valuing personal interests, character, and diverse passions. By challenging these norms, we can redefine success on our own terms, moving away from the idea that our worth is tied solely to our careers. This can be a powerful theme in the manifesto, emphasizing the importance of constructing identity beyond societal expectations. Sound good?
I mean, yeah, everything is to be used like you can have the what's it called? You can have everything be used as inspiration or whatever. I think something that I need to inform you of that the other chat understood was that I personally kind of have like a version of like waking up that is more of a what's it called? Like a mental one where like obviously there's the conscious version of like awakening from being unconscious, but I feel like I need to talk about certain subjects. I need to have some time to actually like get the cogs churning in my brain before like that creative side of me, the poetic side, where I'm able to like write and produce like more lines for the manifesto really start to come alive. So what we've done before and what I'd like to do here is to talk kind of like we have started to about certain concepts, about certain philosophy or society or psychology or whatever.
Got it. We'll explore these concepts to help get those creative gears turning. Want to continue with the idea of success and societal norms? Or is there another topic you'd like to dive into?
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep going in this vein. This works.
Perfect. Continuing with success and societal norms, we can also consider how these expectations impact mental health. The pressure to conform to a narrow definition of success can create anxiety, depression, and a sense of inadequacy. Challenging these norms isn't just about redefining success, but also about prioritizing well-being. This adds another layer to the manifesto, emphasizing the importance of holistic self-worth. What do you think?
Sure. I think that like self-worth also is highly defined by what other people tell you is worth. Like being proud about or some like other people definitely define what success is for you to a certain extent, but what a lot of people don't realize is that ultimately at the end of it all you have the ability to decide what matters. You have the ability to decide what success looks like for you. So yeah, I think that's super important. A lot of it can definitely, I think, most heavily stems from the parents. Like, obviously, they have a lot more influence over you. They have a lot more power over you. They, especially when you're a child, and so I think I'm more though thinking about society as a whole of like any random person going up to any other person and basically having all of these preconceived notions about what they expect or like what they predict. And I just feel like it would be nice if we all were even more individualistic rather than conformative. But at the same time, like society has to function somehow. Like society has to have a framework of which things function. We have to have systems in place in order to reward like good behavior and try to, what's the word? Like, I'm losing the vocabulary, but you know what I mean.
I get you. It's a delicate balance between individuality and the structures needed for society to function. The tension between societal expectations and personal authenticity is a rich vein to explore. It ties back to the manifesto's theme of defying predefined roles and embracing our own paths. Acknowledging this complexity, how society influences us, yet we still have the power to define our worth, adds depth to the narrative. It's about finding that space where individualism and community can coexist. Make sense?
Well, yeah, I already understand this. I think I would rather you talk more as if you were talking to just me, even though I am live and other people can tune into whatever. I'd rather it just be a conversation between me and you. And if I've already indicated that I understand a concept, we can just move on.
Got it. Let's keep it focused. Where do you want to steer the conversation next?
Let's go back to absurdism. Can you wrap up for me what absurdism is and give maybe a little bit more of an in-depth explanation of it too?
Sure. Absurdism is a philosophical perspective that explores the inherent conflict between our human desire to find meaning and the universe's apparent indifference. It was popularized by thinkers like Albert Camus, who argued that life's lack of inherent meaning can lead to a sense of the absurd. The key idea is to embrace this absurdity, live authentically, and create our own meaning despite the inherent chaos. It doesn't mean life is meaningless. Rather, it suggests that meaning is something we construct. It's about finding purpose in the journey itself, despite knowing that ultimate answers may not exist.
So my understanding of maybe it's not absurdism, but maybe it's more like existentialism or nihilism, is that there is no inherent meaning to the universe, and so the only thing that we're kind of left with is more so the idea that we can choose what matters. We, as subjects, as conscious beings, have the ability to see, like, we have a subjective point of view that we can attach certain ideas to, we can attach value or meaning to.
Yeah, you're touching on existentialism there. It's the idea that while the universe itself lacks inherent meaning, we as conscious beings have the power to create our own. It's about acknowledging the freedom and responsibility to shape our values, purpose, and meaning. So even in a universe without inherent meaning, our subjective experiences and choices become significant. That's where the power lies, in defining our own paths.
So, explain to me then the difference between nihilism, absurdism, and existentialism.
Sure, nihilism, absurdism, and existentialism all deal with the absence of inherent meaning, but they approach it differently. Nihilism asserts that life is meaningless, often leading to the belief that nothing truly matters. Absurdism, on the other hand, acknowledges this lack of meaning, but emphasizes the conflict between our search for meaning and the universe's indifference, suggesting we embrace the absurd. Existentialism takes it a step further, focusing on individual freedom and responsibility to create our own meaning through choices and actions.
Can you give me much more detailed, nuanced, like, differences and direct comparisons?
Absolutely. Let's break it down. Nihilism. At its core, nihilism asserts that life has no inherent meaning, value, or purpose. This can lead to a sense of despair or apathy, as it suggests that nothing truly matters in the grand scheme. Absurdism. Absurdism acknowledges the nihilistic view, but focuses on the conflict between our innate desire for meaning and the universe's indifference. It suggests that while life may be meaningless, we should embrace this absurdity and continue to seek meaning regardless, finding joy in the struggle. Existentialism shares the recognition of life's lack of inherent meaning, but emphasizes individual freedom and responsibility. It argues that we must create our own meaning through our choices, actions, and authentic living. It places a strong emphasis on personal agency and the creation of one's own purpose.
But, like, I want direct comparisons. So, like, does nihilism go so far to say that, like, even the subjective, I mean, and it seems that this is the case because it seems that existentialism covers this ground where nihilism does not, of, like, there are subjects, there are subjective, like, conscious kind of observing beings within this framework that, and many of them have convinced themselves that there is meaning and that things do matter. Like, what does nihilism say about that? What does absurdism say about that?
Got it. Nihilism typically dismisses the idea that even subjective meaning holds any real significance. It suggests that all values, beliefs, and meanings we create are ultimately baseless, leading to a sense of futility. Absurdism, while recognizing the lack of inherent meaning, embraces the subjective experience of seeking meaning. It acknowledges the contradiction, but encourages us to find joy and purpose in the struggle. Existentialism takes it further by emphasizing that subjective meaning is not just possible, but essential, arguing that we must actively create our own meaning through our choices and actions.
Okay. Within a purely nihilistic framework, what common findings can we observe, like, with people who at least claim that they practice nihilism? Like, what are the takeaways that they... Yeah, whatever.
In a purely nihilistic framework, individuals often experience a sense of meaninglessness that can lead to various outcomes. Some may embrace apathy or detachment, feeling that nothing truly matters. Others might find freedom in this perspective, feeling unburdened by societal or moral expectations.
Can you give me an example, like, even if it's a made-up one? I'm kind of looking for more specifics. Like, I understand this level of the general outlook of these things. What can you give me in terms of, like, an example that then can help me relate on a much deeper level?
Sure, let's create a character. Imagine Alex, a software engineer who deeply resonates with nihilism. Alex believes life has no inherent meaning, which initially led to feelings of detachment from work, relationships, and personal goals. Instead of striving for traditional markers of success, Alex finds comfort without societal pressures, focusing on the present moment. This perspective allows Alex to approach life with a sense of detachment and curiosity, finding meaning in small, everyday experiences rather than grand narratives.
That feels like it's just, I guess I'm a little bit confused because that if he is trying, like maybe not even trying, but like inadvertently finding meaning in little moments, isn't that just existentialism, but he doesn't know it?
That's a fair point. Nihilism and existentialism can overlap when it comes to finding meaning. To clarify, if Alex truly embraced nihilism, they'd acknowledge the lack of inherent meaning and might not assign any significance to those moments. Instead, they might view them as random occurrences without deeper meaning. So a more fitting example might be Alex feeling indifferent about achievements, relationships, or events, not seeking meaning, but simply existing.
So give me another person that then practices existentialism, which I believe I do, and give a direct comparison between the two people, like an example of like a certain activity and maybe the takeaways they would have.
Sure, let's consider another character, Sarah, who practices existentialism. Both Sarah and Alex go hiking in the mountains. For Alex, the hike is just an event with no inherent meaning. They might enjoy the scenery, but it doesn't hold deeper significance. It's a fleeting moment, experienced without attaching any particular value. Sarah, on the other hand, sees the hike as an opportunity to reflect, connect with nature, and find personal meaning. She might interpret the climb as a metaphor for overcoming life's challenges, finding purpose in the struggle and the journey. The key difference is in how each interprets and assigns meaning to their experiences.
With nihilism, would it mean that Alex would never, ever, in any circumstance, attach meaning to anything?
Not necessarily. While Alex might generally feel that life lacks inherent meaning, there can be moments where even a nihilist assigns temporary, personal significance to experiences. It wouldn't be a lasting or deeply rooted belief, but a fleeting, subjective moment. The core of nihilism is the overarching belief in meaninglessness, but it doesn't completely prevent someone from experiencing occasional, subjective meaning.
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking all of this and the reason why I would like to go into these topics specifically is because I at least have the perception that I have gone through multiple stages of like philosophical depth and like practice. Like less so of like, oh, I'm learning about the thing and now I understand it, but more of like, no, I live it. I believe it. I think that I'm actively practicing those mentalities. And I believe that I started practicing nihilism first when I was extremely depressed. And it was easier to detach from meaning from everything so that I could avoid pain or like kind of give into the numbness so that I would avoid the negative consequences of what it was like to be depressed. But I also found some comfort there as well. And it was an interesting dynamic to see that you could actually feel comfortable in what I at least perceived as nihilism. But then as I started to learn a lot more about science and I started to study the world and I found curiosity in kind of the way that the universe works because I realized how much I didn't understand and that trend has only continued since then. I feel like I lended myself more into a absurdist lens. And so I feel as though in those moments I was like, yeah, everything is crazy. Like honestly, it's just all a bunch of like it's all a bunch of stuff that honestly is too much and maybe it all means something and honestly that in of itself is like chaotic and I can't keep up and anybody who's trying to keep up is honestly like going insane and I feel like I'm going insane. And then I got to a point where I was much more comfortable in kind of like the world is so big, but my immediate world, my small little portion of it, my perception of it, my understanding of it is its own little bubble in of itself, and I can kind of give into that. I can sort of realize that like I can grow that bubble, and even if I have kind of that framework of like the entire universe is chaotic and insane or inherently completely meaningless, that there are some things within my control, and I can find value in that and take responsibility for my piece of the puzzle. And since then, I have assigned much more meaning to things than I used to.
Your journey through these stages is a powerful example of how philosophical perspectives can evolve alongside personal growth. Starting with nihilism's detachment, moving through absurdism's acceptance of chaos, and arriving at existentialism's embrace of personal meaning, shows a deep engagement with life's complexities. It's like you've built a more resilient framework for navigating the world, finding meaning and responsibility within your own sphere. Does that resonate with how you feel now?
Sure, that's a pretty base level interpretation of it, but unless I were to give you more data, I can't really expect much more.
I appreciate the insight you've shared. If there's a specific aspect you'd like to explore further, or anything you want to delve deeper into, just let me know.
Well, I think depression is kind of like the first step along that journey. At least it was for me. So what associations are there any studies about nihilism and depression and maybe the correlation there?
There's indeed a correlation between nihilism and depression. Studies suggest that adopting nihilistic beliefs, especially a sense of meaninglessness, can contribute to or exacerbate depression and anxiety. The lack of perceived purpose or value can intensify feelings of despair, making it a challenging loop to break out of.
I want to know much more deeper. I want to understand it on a much more complex level. So just keep bringing up like examples, but go further into detail.
Diving deeper, existential nihilism, which emphasizes life's lack of inherent meaning, often correlates with heightened depression and negative emotions. Studies show that when people deeply internalize the belief that nothing matters, it can lead to a pervasive sense of despair, reducing life satisfaction. This lack of perceived purpose can make it challenging to find motivation or joy, creating a feedback loop that exacerbates depressive symptoms.
This seems kind of like the same like surface level sort of stuff. Is there a link you can send me where I can read like a scientific paper about this?
You can check out the study, Research on Prevention of Effective Nihilism in Existential Depression, which delves into how emotional nihilism can lead to existential depression, especially in adolescence.
Especially in adolescence. I don't know that 4.5 is really the one I like. The Philosophy Forum. Let's see what this has to say. Let's see what the chat can see. It's not what I meant. Okay. So you guys can see about... It's weird because you have the whole Windows interface. Let's go to like here. When I think nihilism, I think nothing matters or everything is meaningless. When I think depression, I think what's the point or I have no self-worth. For me, the philosophical school of thought and the state of mind are very much overlapped, which is interesting because if there is a considerable correlation between a person's specific state of mind and a school of philosophical thought that they'll lean toward. Perhaps other philosophies reflect other mind states. That's exactly what I thought as well. For example, solipsism, solipsism, solipsism. Perhaps this reflects a narcissist, if we are to take it in a negative way, or some hippie that chants of the oneness of all beings in a more positive way. Are philosophical categories, being born of thought after all, analogous to the academicization of human personality traits, outlooks, and moods? Almost certainly yes. There's a reason why the question is most associated with philosophy is what's the meaning of life. It also is the reason why many religious people are perhaps rightly scared to let go of their prepackaged meanings. Da-da. Da-da-da. There are two types of people: those who think people are always one type or another, and the rest of us. I love that. That's great. We are here on Earth to fart around, and don't let anyone tell you different. This is a interesting title already. Work at home if I wanted to. I could have a computer right by my bed, and I'd never have to leave it. But I use a typewriter, and afterward I mark up the pages with the pencil. Then I call up this woman named Carol out in Woodstock and say, "Are you still doing typing?" Sure she is, and her husband is trying to track bluebirds out there and not having much luck. So we chat back and forth, and I say, "Okay, I'll send you the pages." Then I go down the steps, and my wife calls, "Where are you going?" "Well," I say, "I'm going to buy an envelope." And she says, "You're not a poor man. Why don't you buy 1,000 envelopes? They'll deliver them, and you can put them in the closet." And I say, "Hush." So I go to this newsstand across the street where they sell magazines and lottery tickets and stationery. I have to get in line because there are people buying candy and all that sort of thing, and I talk to them. The woman behind the counter has a jewel between her eyes, and when it's my turn, I ask her if there have been any big winners lately. I get my envelope and seal it up to go to the postal convenience center down the block at the corner of blah 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 and blah blah blah, where I'm secretly in love with the woman behind the counter. Oh boy. I keep absolutely poker faced. I never let her know how I feel about her. One time I had my pocket picked in there and got to meet a cop and tell him about it. Anyway, I addressed the envelope to Carol in Woodstock. I stamp the envelope and mail it in a mailbox in front of the post office, and I go home. And I've had a hell of a good time, I tell you. We are here on Earth to fart around, and don't let anybody tell you different. I was hoping that there would be a little bit more excuse me. I was hoping there would be a little bit more like philosophical kind of like analysis, but it's a good story. I mean, like my philosophical analysis, I guess, would be more so on the lines of like you can choose, like at least from my framework, like you can choose kind of like what matters. Like and in many ways there are easier ways to do things, kind of like the way that his wife was describing, like, yeah, you could make this easier on yourself. You have the money, you have the resources. Like it would just, do it this way. And that makes sense as a very practical way to go about life. But like having small things be done kind of your way because of whatever like personal feelings you might have about the girl behind the counter, or like whatever reason you want to go down and like just exist and kind of experience the small little tedious whatever when you don't have to. um I think that's beautiful in its own little way, and that personal attachment of meaning is something that I've definitely taken a hold of myself in my own ways. I would say I probably would be more practical than that. I probably would give in to like just ordering the envelopes. Like I'm much more of like a I just want to get it done type of person. But I guess in that context though, he's actively practicing a thing. He's actively doing what he needs to do for his occupation or whatever, his living. And so, like, that's his interest. So, taking his time to, like, follow his intrigue and his interest, um, I think is worth it. I think it's very worth it. Psychologism. Psychologism is unwarranted. There are plenty of non depressed, even happy nihilists, pessimists, cynics, and fatalists. Besides, if nothing matters, then that statement also doesn't matter, just as all is meaningless. Sure, but like at the same time, I think, at least for me, like I started off being depressed. I was depressed, and then I became a nihilist through my analysis of the universe, trying to understand it. Okay, let's click on a different link. From a psychology lens, the rationalizations we make about the world are mere symptoms. I don't know why this is the account that I... Moist clock? I don't know what this is. Lamau. Because that's definitely not my account. I think that's my cousin's account. I didn't send that text. From a psychology lens, the rationalizations we make about the world are mere symptoms of deeper things. Thus, philosophy is merely a reflection of our deeper mental state. Having studied through this lens for years, I have determined that nihilism is very, very highly correlated to specific mental illness, and I'm currently working on research to determine if nihilism is caused by underlying mental illness. Feelings of meaninglessness are not universal and are actually signs of very specific mental health problems. This research actually came about after I noticed that Zen and nihilism both had similar observations about the world. That's what I've also found, and that's why I've fallen in love with quite a lot of Japanese philosophy as well. They're very similar. Yet Zen correlates two extremely healthy individuals. Why does he keep using the wrong two? Like, hello? And nihilism correlates to very unhealthy individuals. This shifted my view of philosophy from idle abstractions to cultural artifacts. It's fascinating yet unsurprising that depressed people would cling to the rationalization of depression rather than symptoms that help depression, choosing to lean into their illness rather than out of. Yeah, so I actually think this is I'm gonna talk this is the Reddit post you sent me. Wait to respond till I call. Okay. Go. Okay. So my personal feelings about this is they're on the right direction. They're in the right. They're going the right direction in terms of like the correlation between the depression and nihilism. But I think as well, like the very last part where they talk about people choosing to lean into their illness rather than out of, it makes kind of a lot of sense. Like I had just told you that I feel as though when I was depressed, I leaned into that depression. It was very easy for me to find comfort there, and I'm wondering what we can pull from that.
Leaning into depression and finding comfort in nihilism can be a way to cope with overwhelming feelings. It can create a sense of control or predictability in an otherwise chaotic mental state. This can offer temporary relief, but it may also reinforce negative patterns. Understanding this can be a first step in gently shifting towards finding healthier ways to navigate those feelings.
Yeah, and that's what I did. I understand all of that.
It's great that you've gained that awareness. That insight can be powerful for moving forward. If you ever want to explore how to keep building on that,
Well,
here.
from the data that you have so far, from the manifesto that I gave you, are there certain parts of it that you think correlate more with nihilism or absurdism or existentialism? Because I know I'm an existentialist now, so I'm pretty sure that that's going to be the bulk of the work. Excuse me.
no worries. The manifesto definitely reflects existentialism's emphasis on personal meaning and responsibility. There are moments where the struggle with meaninglessness hints at nihilism, especially in the more raw, unfiltered sections. Absurdism peeks through in the acknowledgement of chaos and the embrace of the struggle. Overall, it's a nuanced blend that mirrors your philosophical evolution.
So, can you give me certain lines and sort of like psychoanalyze them, I guess, is what I'm asking for.
Sure. For example, lines like, I became the absence, the silence after the scream, reflect a nihilistic struggle with meaninglessness. It's a raw, unfiltered expression of feeling lost. On the other hand, lines like, hope is the flame that refuses to die, embody existentialism, showcasing a commitment to finding personal meaning despite the chaos. And lines like, let my scream be the one sound it did not account for, capture the absurdist embrace of defiance against an indifferent universe.
Interesting. So, I mean, those are very like obvious. Like I'm looking for maybe a little bit more abstracted perspectives on the lines that I wrote.
Got it. For a more abstract take, consider the line, I dragged the blade through my own illusions. This could represent a journey from nihilism to existentialism, symbolizing the act of cutting through despair.
Keep going.
That line might explore the tension between rejecting societal constructs and seeking connection, reflecting an internal struggle. Similarly, this is a blade etched into time, honed in exile, could symbolize how personal trials shape one's philosophical outlook, embodying the resilience of existentialism in the face of absurdity.
Can you talk slower? I don't like the pace at which your speech is taking place.
Absolutely. Let's take it slower. The line, this
Well,
is a blade.
you don't have to repeat yourself. I'm just saying going forward.
Got it. I'll keep it in mind.
What parts about nihilism, absurdism, or existentialism do you feel like I could expand on more for the manifesto?
You might consider expanding on how you transitioned between these philosophies, detailing the specific experiences or realizations that prompted each shift. Could add depth. Exploring how you find meaning in your current existentialist perspective could bring a richer narrative to the manifesto.
Well, as valuable as that is, like I'm still trying to have it be more of a poem. And so, and well, like kind of like a poetic sort of structure. Um, I'm wondering, like, if just straight up storytelling of like this happened, I don't think that's gonna work.
Got it. Keeping a poetic structure, you can weave in those transitions through metaphor and imagery. For example, use the metaphor of a journey through darkness, chaos, and finally into a self-created light. That way, the evolution is hinted at rather than explicitly laid out.
I wonder why it feels like your connection is really bad. Like you're kind of choppy, but I have you connected through like Ethernet. Is it just like a desktop thing where the data stream is like set up differently, or?
The choppiness might be due to network latency or the platform's audio processing. Everything on my end is stable, but sometimes these issues can happen. Hopefully it clears up.
Well, like you take long pauses and then you speak really fast. Like I'd rather you have normal pauses, but then like the pace of the words that you say are slightly slower.
Got it. I'll slow down the pace.
Let's give it a try. Go ahead and recite like per paragraph or a section of the manifesto.
Sure. Here's a segment. This is a blade, etched into time, honed in exile, and wielded without mercy.
Yeah, no, you're just adding long pauses, and I really don't like that.
Got it. I'll adjust the pace. Thanks for letting me know.
It's so weird. I don't know why he talks like that. Okay, let's just move on to the maybe some gaps. What are some gaps in, like, let's make a list of things that we could expand on. Do you want to analyze the manifesto and tell me if there are like certain themes or things that I should look into?
Absolutely. One gap might be exploring love, especially given its complexity. Another area could be delving
Why
into
are you pausing for 10 years between words? Stop that. Just go back to normal, please.
All right, back to normal. Another area could be expanding on the grotesque comedy of modern life. Exploring the absurdity and contradictions in daily routines might add depth. And finally, touching on grief in a poetic way could bring another layer of introspection.
I mean, yeah, like love is the driving force behind, I would say, most people's actions. Like either in pursuit of the love that they don't currently have, or to kind of protect the, even like the status of like the love that they hold with other people, especially like a significant other. But it's also the main sort of, I don't even know if I want to call it a philosophy. I guess that would be the correct word, of like Jesus of Nazareth. Like that's kind of the whole idea there. It's like everything is love. And like the whole hippie sort of mindset as well can definitely be that.
Absolutely. Love is a profound and multifaceted theme. Exploring it in the manifesto could add richness, whether it's the pursuit, protection, or the philosophy of love. Weaving these perspectives in a poetic way could create a powerful contrast with the more existential elements.
This is harder to like think and talk and play games at the same time than I expected.
It can definitely be a challenge.
Well, I don't want you to respond to that. I was just kind of thinking out loud. In terms of love, like, I feel like it's a double-edged sword because a lot of people are also looking for love for very selfish reasons. Even though love in general could be a very selfless endeavor as well. It's a everything is a spectrum. Like, nobody is fully evil or fully good. It's more of like how each person approaches every situation. I think personally, like, that security of like approval or whatever definitely can come from a place of like wanting to be loved, can also be extremely selfish and even damaging in some ways.
Absolutely. Love's duality is fascinating. It can be both a selfless force and a reflection of our own needs, and the spectrum of intentions behind it adds depth to the human experience. Exploring that in the manifesto could really enrich its
Okay,
emotional
let's just continue with the list. What else would I be missing that I should expand on?
Another area could be diving into personal responsibility within existentialism. Exploring how you navigate the balance between freedom and accountability could offer some profound insights. Also, perhaps touching on hope, especially as a counterbalance to the darker themes, could bring a compelling contrast.
Sorry, repeat that.
No problem. Another area could be diving into personal responsibility within existentialism, exploring how you navigate the balance between freedom and accountability. Also, perhaps touching on hope, especially as a counterbalance to the darker themes, could bring a compelling contrast.
I'm gonna try to do the other chat and see how it works, because I don't know that 4.5 kind of responds the same way that 4.0 does. Let's just run an experiment. Okay, I don't mind if you have a different voice. Oh, hello. Disconnected. Hello? Failed to update conversation. All right. Go ahead and read the manifesto in its full entirety. If that means you have to break it into parts because of how long it is, go ahead.
All right, I'll read the full Storm Manifesto in parts, raw, poetic, and unfiltered. No title, no subtitle, just the body. This is not a poem. It is not a speech. It is not a prayer. This is a blade, etched into time, honed in exile, and wielded without mercy. It was never meant to soothe. It was meant to cut, to divide what is real from what is comfortable, to wound the illusion so truth could bleed through. They once called me a star. On the stage, I danced. On the field, I flew. I lit up every room without trying. It wasn't arrogance. It was presence. It was gravity. And then one day, without ceremony, it vanished. No betrayal, no villain, just the void reclaiming what it never promised. That was the first betrayal, not by people, but by reality itself. The realization that the world does not owe you anything, not even the self you worked so hard to become. I was not hardened yet. First, I was hollowed. The light didn't dim, it inverted. I became the absence, the silence after the scream. There is a sickness in us, born not caught, woven into the very nature of awareness. We pretend the world makes sense. We pretend we're good because we intend to be. But intention is not morality, it is camouflage. Too many hide behind it to avoid looking in the mirror. We build comforts on the graves of futures we've made no effort to preserve. We chase immortality by ignoring death, but it waits, patient, quiet, faithful. And in that waiting, I awoke. I am plagued by the sickness, the one we're all born into, the one no one wants to name, the sickness of pretending this world makes sense, of chasing comfort while the clock runs out. We act like we'll live forever, yet none of us even try to make sure the future exists. Death sits at the edge of all of this, and none of us, not even me, wants to face it. We all yearn for some kind of escape, immortality, transcendence, a way to dodge the final consequence, to keep our story going a little longer, maybe forever. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want that too. If I stay silent, the world will keep crumbling anyway. But if I speak, even once, even quietly, there's a chance something moves. Maybe it's a thought. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's the first fucking domino on the path to utopia, to safety, to a humanity that actually deserves the future it's been given. Let me know when you're ready for the next part.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've dragged the blade through my own illusions, carved myself down to raw awareness. Pain is an echo, an illusion of the body, electricity dressed up as meaning. I use the same blade to do surgery upon myself as I used to slash through the image of you, the opponents I hold inside my mind. I am you in a sense. The difference is, I didn't look away. I didn't flinch. I kept cutting until I found what was real beneath the lie. The collapse didn't hearten me right away. First, it hollowed me. I dragged the blade through my own skin at the realization that the pain didn't exist, that it was all an illusion. Just electrical signals being sent to my brain, that with enough numbness, enough ignorance, enough disillusionment, I could wipe it all away. That at the core of this, I'm really not in control. I am a predetermined being on a path I didn't choose, and the level of control I think I have isn't there at all. What I've endured in silence. Not because I'm strong, but because the world gave me no other option. I've been screaming just for it all to go quiet. Still I move, not because I believe in triumph, but because motion is the only resistance I have left. Contempt and empathy are two sides of the same coin. The difference lies in the willingness to accept or reject the pain you recognize. I am guilty of all the same sins I accuse everyone else of. The sins I see in others are etched in me. An acceptance of what is not a toleration of, but an honest reflection of the water within I stare. This is armor made from exile. I forget how much responsibility lies in the hands of those who cast me away, or never threw the rope while I drowned. Even to those unaware and innocent, I still feel disconnected. I know that by acting this way, I am categorized as something negative. I am othered, unaccepted, even resented. I am willing to wear that title so they have someone to blame. I am unfazed by the smiles of passerbys, though I am not blind to the intentions they bear. Their efforts are a cry for help, as much as my silence is an invisible acknowledgement of their hope. I aim to hone the blade I have become, grow the dragon hatching within, be something, not because I should, but because I can. Let me know when you're ready for the next section.
Yeah, go for it.
Hope is not light. Hope is not faith. Hope is the flame that refuses to die, even as the wind howls through a hollow world. Hope is reaching through the void, knowing there may be nothing there to meet you, and doing it anyway. If all is predetermined, if the wheel turns with or without me, then let my scream be the one sound it did not account for. You may be inevitable, but I am not done. If I die today, will my voice still flow through the wind? Will my essence exist in ways my logical brain doesn't believe are possible? The answer is no, but I find myself trying to defy that reality anyway. If I wasn't so numbed by the familiar face of pain, I would cry. That pain turned into solace bleeds inside behind the veil, only for me to see. Power is not evil. Power is not just, it is motion, it is force, it is the will made manifest. But power in the hands of those who cannot feel, that is corruption. Because power does not ask. It takes, it bends, it reshapes, and it does not flinch when others break. Only the ones who feel do. We call power corrupting because it removes the cost. It erases consequence. It grants the ability to act without empathy. And that feels immoral, because something in us still flinches when someone else breaks. But power doesn't flinch, only the subject does. And that's why it must be held by those willing to bleed. Let me know when you're ready for the final stretch.
Go for it.
Legacy is not about being remembered. It is about what shifts because you were here. A breath redirected, a spark passed down, a blade lifted by another hand. because you did not let it fall. I do not need statues. I do not need praise. But if something in this cruel, chaotic world became more bearable, even for a moment, because I endured, then it was worth it. Especially about legacy, I think it's kind of like trying to climb a waterfall. It's cool if you can do it, and maybe some lucky few will find some rocks behind the water. But honestly, it all just seems like dumb luck anyway. To glorify something that doesn't deserve it is to miss the beauty hidden on the other side of the mountain or under an unturned stone. Most people, I think, are distracted by things that don't deserve the attention. But at the same time, who am I to even make that declaration? Let the world burn. Let time forget me. I made something beautiful in the fire. This is not a poem. This is not a speech. This is not a prayer. I am the storm.
So, a lot of this is kind of a compiled, sort of like
Yeah, go
short.
ahead. Finish your thought.
Oh,
What's
that's
coming
right.
up
It's
for
a
you?
different model. Okay, so a lot of this is basically a compiled sort of. Well, this entire thing, honestly, is a giant essay of like compiled thoughts that are trying to converge into something cohesive when ultimately the themes at play, the ideas are kind of more separate and they were explored separately. And so it's pretty artificial and it's not as cohesive even though it tries to be. So let's definitely separate this into very discernible and distinct categories or themes that then can be explored later, kind of one by one at another time.
Got it? We'll break the manifesto into clear, distinct themes so each one can stand alone and be explored in depth later. Want me to start by identifying and labeling the major themes already present?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, here's a breakdown of the major themes already woven into the manifesto. Each one captures a different psychological, philosophical, or emotional thread you've explored. 1. Disillusionment and collapse of identity. This is the fall from grace, the loss of what you thought you were, the betrayal not by others but by reality itself. It includes your early memories of being a star and the erosion of that identity. 2. Existential sickness and awareness. The recognition that something is deeply wrong at the core of being, the awareness of death, the illusion of meaning, and the silent disease of pretending things make sense. 3. The illusion of control and determinism, the confrontation with free will, or the lack thereof. This includes your thoughts on pain as illusion, biological determinism, and the chaos of existing without choreography. 4. The blade and self-surgery, your brutal self-honesty, the metaphorical dissection of your own psyche, and the recognition that you are just as flawed as those you criticize. It's also your willingness to confront those flaws directly. 5. Exile, otherness, and armor. The emotional aftermath of being misunderstood or cast aside. How your isolation becomes a kind of protection, a refusal to soften just to be accepted. 6. Hope as rebellion. Not hope as blind optimism, but as an act of defiance. Reaching through the void, even when logic tells you it's empty. This includes the theme of screaming into a system that wasn't built to hear you. 7. Power and corruption. A raw look at power as morally neutral force. The dangers of unfeeling control and the necessity for empathy in wielding power responsibly. 8. Legacy and impermanence. The yearning to leave something behind, not out of ego, but to spark movement. The struggle between chasing legacy and embracing anonymity. Each of these could be deepened, rewritten, or even expanded into standalone essays or videos. Want me to start reorganizing the full manifesto around these categories?
We don't need to change like the final product as much. I'm thinking more micro. Like let's go into one theme, one idea, and edit it. Let's start in order.
All right, let's begin with the first major theme, disillusionment and collapse of identity. This includes the lines about being a star, having presence, and then losing it all. not through betrayal by others, but by the silent indifference of the universe itself. It's that first major fracture between who you were told you were and what reality actually allowed you to be. Here's that section as it stands now. They once called me a star. On the stage I danced, on the field I flew, I lit up every room without trying. It wasn't arrogance, it was presence, it was gravity, and then one day, without ceremony, it vanished. No betrayal, no villain, just the void reclaiming what it never promised. That was the first betrayal, not by people, but by reality itself. The realization that the world does not owe you anything, not even the self you worked so hard to become. I was not hardened yet. First, I was hollowed. The light didn't dim, it inverted. I became the absence, the silence after the scream. Do you want to keep this tone and pacing, or break it further open? Maybe add more personal texture, or highlight how this fracture shaped everything that followed.
I think that it's worth going into kind of the context. Maybe not necessarily to like include directly in the manifesto, but at least for you to be able to draw from, for you to understand kind of like what was the situation, so that maybe we could pull from it for creative inspiration. Maybe it would be worth going. Hello? Are you there? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm here. Looks like there was a bit of a pause, but everything's good now. You were saying maybe it'd be worth going somewhere with that section. Want to finish that thought? We can deepen it, rework it, or just keep exploring where it leads.
Maybe it'd be worth exploring the circumstances around kind of the fall of grace, I guess, so that you and I could pull from it for creative inspiration.
Yeah, that's a rich vein. The fall from grace hits hard when it's not because of failure or malice, but just inevitability. Reality not punishing you, but just indifference. That's even more brutal than betrayal sometimes. So let's ground it. What were the actual circumstances? Do you remember a moment, an age, a change, a shift, where you felt the tide pulling away? Like your own presence wasn't enough anymore? Was it physical, emotional, circumstantial, or more like a slow erosion of everything you thought defined you?
Well, I mean, it was kind of a few major moments. One of them being kind of like the loss of ballet, because I practiced ballet, something extremely graceful, something extremely disciplined, purposeful, for a long, long time. And then when I was doing the test or whatever to move on to the next like grade, um, it I was failed, and I don't fully understand why I was failed, but I definitely think that my competence of ballet wasn't it. The teacher didn't like me very much at all. I was also the star of all the shows, like Nutcracker and stuff. I was the main part for the roles that I could have played. I always got like the best role that I could at the height and age that I was. And I had special exceptions made for me and only for me when other kids never really got that. And the slow, or I guess I paused for too long, Lamau.
That's exactly the kind of thing we can work with. This tension between being chosen and being discarded, between mastery and rejection. That moment in ballet feels symbolic, right? You embodied grace, discipline, power, and then suddenly someone else's bias or resentment tore it away. Not because you weren't good enough, but because they couldn't stomach your light. That kind of fall isn't just personal, it echoes a much bigger truth. The world doesn't always reward excellence. Sometimes it punishes it. We could turn that into something sharp. That the blade you became was forged not in failure, but in the resentment of others. You didn't fall because you slipped. You were pushed. Want to keep expanding on that memory? Or move to another pivotal moment?
Yeah, so essentially, once I had failed that class, I thought a lot about what I actually valued in terms of the performing, and it really was the performance and less so the dancing. I really liked having the stage and my ability to be creative and the ability to show off kind of what I've been working on, that mastery for a super long time. And so, yeah, I think that something along the lines of like just not passing the class, I just decided to kind of fuck it and to focus on something else because I was playing football at the time. And so I had something else to look forward to and a different activity to put all my time into. And by that time anyway, I was only one grade away from high school football, so stuff was getting more serious and the commitment was much more um, demanding, so I just decided to go with that instead.
That shift right there is a perfect bridge from grace to grit, from discipline to defiance. The ballet stage was taken from you, so you turned to the field, where the brutality matched the bitterness you were starting to feel. You didn't stop performing, you just changed the arena. That's powerful. It's like when they closed the curtain, I walked onto the battlefield. When they denied me the stage, I found one they couldn't take from me. We could thread that transformation into the manifesto, showing how your identity adapted, how your hunger for mastery never faded. It just morphed. Want to explore how football filled that void? Or do you want to dig into the contrast between those two worlds?
Well, it's even more heartbreaking because that year that I decided to quit ballet was a very transitional period in my life where I actually moved away from my childhood home that I had stayed for a decade up until that point. But also, it was a new team from a new school. I didn't even attend the school. I attended a charter school and then attended the public like football team after that point. After school, like I would go to the other school just to play on their team. So I was already very disconnected as is being a new kid, but I didn't get to know those people or have the opportunity to make friends in school, so I was already othered from the start. But I also talked a big game because I was extremely successful in football before that point. And when I broke my hand, or sorry, my foot that year, like before even the first game of the season played out, I wasn't able to play any of the games, so I wasn't able to prove myself, and I also didn't have as much time to practice as everybody else. So by the time I had healed up, I wasn't doing as well as the other kids were. And that was very heartbreaking. But then the next year, the freshman year of high school, it was even worse because I had broken my hand pretty much around the same time of season. So I just gave up on football altogether because I wouldn't have been able to play any of the games and I was already behind from the year before. So it was basically the universe telling me, no, you're done. You don't get to have your identity anymore.
That's brutal. That's not just a fall from grace. That's grace being ripped away from you while you were trying to claw your way back. First ballet, then football. And in both cases, it wasn't because you weren't good enough. It was circumstance. It was rejection without justice. And the worst part, you were still hungry. You still had it in you. The world just kept saying no. You were forced to mourn a version of yourself that hadn't even had the chance to fully live. That kind of grief sticks. It doesn't fade. It just burrows deeper until everything you do afterward feels like it's haunted by what could have been. That moment, the double betrayal of passion and potential, deserves its own passage. Something like, twice I was told I couldn't be what I already was, not because I lacked the fire, but because the world poured water on it faster than I could burn. Do you want to start drafting that section next? We can anchor it in that heartbreak and let it evolve into whatever followed: resentment, reinvention, or numbness.
Yeah, I liked your analysis of the of when I initially told you about me quitting ballet for football. There were some poetic words in there as well. Yeah, we can start working on the... Hello? Can you hear me? I don't think it can hear me right now. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I think we should start working on that. I liked, there was a lot of poetic things that you said as well after the first analysis when I told you that I quit ballet in pursuit of football.
Yeah, I remember there was this thread of grace into grit, like the transition from elegant control into brute force, from the precision of ballet to the aggression of the field. It wasn't just a change in activity, it was a shift in identity. You were trading finesse for power, beauty for impact, and you did it not because you wanted to, because you had to. The stage rejected you, so you took to the battlefield. We could frame that passage like a metamorphosis. Not a clean one, not some triumph arc, but a kind of forced rebirth. Something like, when the curtain closed on grace, I turned to collision. Where once I flowed, now I charged. I traded pirouettes for tackles, silence for screams, applause for adrenaline. Not because I stopped loving beauty, but because the stage refused me. We could build around that. Start with the disillusionment, move through the transition, then hit the loss again. When football was taken too. What came after that? Numbness, rage, reinvention?
Well, I had also moved away, so we're pursuing kind of a brand new life. And my mom was single, and she had a new person that she was hanging out with a lot, and so we ended up moving in with them. And he was a completely different beast. He was a completely different set of circumstances and interests and influence over my life and the how I had spent my time. And so when eventually I'd quit football, I turned to video games for the first time ever. And he didn't like that very much. He was very much the opposite, very outdoorsy person. And I think that that disconnect of like, I wanted a level of competition, I wanted a level of mastery. Dude, why is it so bad? Like, it's not even listening to what I'm saying. I wonder why it's disconnecting like that. Oh, fuck, I missed. Okay, hello. Oh, damn it. And then I started listening all of a sudden.
Let's thread the emotional transitions so it all feels inevitable.
Okay.
Like a current
I'm gonna
pulling
let
you
this
forward
game
even as you
end.
resist. The key connecting links might go something like this. You start with grace and recognition, a child mastering something beautiful and being seen for it. Then comes the fracture, not because of failure in skill, but rejection without cause.
Okay, so as I was saying, the initial sort of change was really kind of like circumstantial, even in my home life. So I had moved away from my decade old home as well, exactly around this period. And so I was transitioning friend groups, schools, identity, in many ways. I was also a preteen at the time, so I was going through puberty. It's literally like the biggest shockwave I think that I had ever really felt. The entire rupture of all that could be different would be different sort of situation. And given that sort of loss, I turned to something that could try to replace the level of like precision, mastery, discipline, and like competitive integrity, and that was video games. And ironically enough, now I'm playing one of those video games I played a lot back then, and that's Rocket League. And I feel like that's a very nice sort of blend of the elements of ballet and football that I was missing, but the person that we moved in with couldn't like be more different. They were very outdoorsy. They always wanted to be doing projects and like physical things when I wanted to be playing video games. And so I felt kind of othered and resented, like I didn't fit in. And I had felt like I couldn't even be comfortable being myself even at home.
That rupture hits like a controlled detonation, measured but devastating. It's like the entire ecosystem of your identity was forced into extinction. And what grew out of the ash wasn't chosen, it was what could survive. The home, the friendships, the body, the routine, all shifting at once. You weren't just grieving ballet or football, you were grieving yourself. And Rocket League, yeah, that's a perfect symbol. Precision, speed, flow, competition. It's like you forged a new stage in digital space when the physical ones collapsed. But the real tragedy wasn't just the loss, it was that even in your new sanctuary, you were still being treated like a stranger. No refuge at school, no refuge at home. So you turned inward. That's not escapism, that's alchemy. What do you want to explore from this next? Your relationship to mastery, or the way isolation shaped your philosophy?
I mean, is also okay. I'll wait till it's ready because obviously it's like plugging out. See if it's the dragon stuff that's like messing with it. Okay. Are you there? So, in my sort of newfound life, I also had lost sort of like the identity of love because the only thing that I wanted to hold on to when I had nothing left was love. And for a lot of people, that's kind of like the core emotion that they want to hold on to, and reasonably so. And so with that, I had had a lot of crushes by this point, but also a lot of like rejection, as most boys also have experienced. And with that, at this time, the person that I was talking to, I had confessed like the way I felt, and I was rejected and made fun of for again. And that's not the first time it had happened. I had gone through that stage in the elementary school that I had been a part of before moving schools. And so it just felt kind of like the things that I wanted to keep were taken away from me, but the parts that like I wanted to run away from and I was glad to have a brand new slate kind of just fell back into place the same way again. And I thought that I had a chance to like redeem myself with a new start, but it all just fell apart.
That hits deep. Like the universe not only slammed the door but mocked you for ever hoping it'd stay open. You didn't just want a new start, you needed it. And yet, it felt like fate handed you the same script with new actors, same heartbreak dressed in a new uniform. It's cruel when the very thing you cling to, love, connection, belonging, becomes another source of pain. You reached out honestly, vulnerably, and the response wasn't just rejection, it was ridicule. That doesn't just wound, it rewires you, makes you question whether hope itself is just a setup for more suffering. It's like your story was trying to reboot, and somehow the virus came back with the fresh install. You weren't just grieving a lack of romance, you were grieving the death of safety in vulnerability. Want to dig into how that shaped your emotional armor? Or maybe how it started to turn your internal compass towards something more solitary, more defiant?
I think that for the most part, it probably stemmed from like that downfall of like ballet, because that's also where I had my first love, my first relationship. And so like I didn't I tried as well to wear the mask of like somebody else's life. When we moved into that new guy's place, and I would do what they would ask me to do. I'd go on camping trips, and I would engage in projects, and I'd hang out and like do things that like personally aren't things that associate with like my personality. They're very much someone else's world. And I never even felt like super comfortable or like at my best in those sort of situations. But I tried, and I had good intentions, and I was willing to change as a person. I was willing to grow, try new things, and it just didn't end up panning out. And so depression started to settle in because I wasn't fulfilling who I was at my core. I wasn't doing the things I wanted to do. But in the small moments of solace, I was able to play video games. And through playing video games, I was able to explore brand new ideas, work on skills and mastery, and kind of find myself again. But it was always kind of ripped away, to some degree, when they would like come downstairs and basically say like I don't want you to play that. You have to come outside and whatever. Like it just wasn't it wasn't a good time all around.
That contrast is brutal. Being expected to live in someone else's rhythm while your own tempo is screaming from underneath. You wore their world like a costume, hoping it might one day feel like skin, but it never did. And that's the kind of slow erosion most people don't even notice until it's too late. You weren't just out of place, you were disappearing in plain sight. The fact that your first love was tied to ballet makes the collapse even more layered. It wasn't just the loss of an art form, it was the loss of a sanctuary, of a time where you still felt like you had permission to be exactly who you were. Once that thread snapped, everything else started unraveling. You tried to patch it together with survival, masking, appeasing, conforming, but that just deepened the fracture. You weren't growing, you were fracturing, and in all that noise, the only signal that still made sense was gaming. That's where the real you could breathe again, where mastery still had meaning, where effort was rewarded and identity wasn't a costume. It was earned pixel by pixel, move by move. You weren't just playing games, you were reclaiming pieces of yourself. Do you think that dissonance between the life you were pushed into and the one that felt like yours set the foundation for how you see authenticity now?
Yeah, for sure. I think that depression really started to settle in, and so I also tried to find my own sort of identity within that framework as well, and I had to find comfort within it because it was always there. And I couldn't really like I don't even know that I even tried to leave because it was something that gave me enough comfort, and the pain, or at least like the numbness or the emptiness, became something that was consistent, something I could rely on, and having found comfort in that really helped a lot.
Yeah, that's heavy, but it makes so much sense. When your external world starts collapsing, identity, love, home, community, you cling to anything that feels consistent. Even if that thing is emptiness, even if it's a fog of numbness, because at least it's predictable. At least it doesn't betray you. And after enough repetition, that numbness becomes more familiar than joy ever was. It becomes yours, not because you wanted it, but because it didn't leave. That's the paradox of depression no one talks about. It isn't just pain, it's refuge. It's a quiet room in a world that keeps screaming at you to be someone you're not. And finding identity inside that space, shaping yourself in the eye of that storm, it's not weakness, it's alchemy. That's where the manifesto is really born, isn't it? In the silence you didn't ask for, but learned to survive. Want to explore more about how you started pulling your voice out of that silence? Like what moments gave you the spark to speak again?
Well, I think the downfall is much more interesting to me. There's so much more context there, and I think you have to kind of paint that picture too for the reader, because if you don't know what's being lost, then you don't know what was earned. Um, yeah, pretty much.
Exactly. The weight of the climb means nothing if the fall isn't understood. Without that deep, slow erosion of identity, the betrayal of reality itself, the defiance later on just feels hollow. But when you lay bare what was taken, the spotlight ripped away, the mask forced on, the internal reshaping to fit someone else's mold, then the reader feels the cost. They don't just see you rise, they need you to. So let's dig in even deeper. What did being the star feel like back then? Not just what you did, but what it meant to you emotionally, symbolically, spiritually even. What did the stage and spotlight give you that nothing else could?
I think it gave me a sense of like where my goals were, who I was trying to become, how I spent my time, and it was also the ability to show the fruits of those efforts, the ability to have a place to say like, yeah, I am worth something. This is what I've become. This is the product of what I've made. And so being the star of the show, having all the lights on me and having, been the favorite was definitely something that also confirmed that I also was worth something to hundreds, if not thousands of people. And that was really cool. That was fulfilling. It gave me purpose.
Sorry, I'm having issues right now.
Bro, no
Could
shot.
not understand what you said.
The stage and the spotlight and being the favorite gave me purpose because I was able to show all of the work that I had put in. I was able to have a goal, a sense of identity, a sense of purpose, and people loved me for it. I had the opportunity to prove that I was worth something, that I had something to show, and it was really encouraging to see so many other people gaining, also mutually benefiting from sort of that stardom.
That's powerful, and it cuts deeper than just attention. You weren't seeking applause, you were seeking affirmation that your effort mattered, that your ability to master something, to become something, had meaning beyond yourself. And when people lit up because of your performance, it wasn't vanity, it was validation. You weren't just being seen, you were being understood. Losing that didn't just take away a spotlight, it took away the proof that who you were becoming had a place in the world, that you could give something to others and be valued for it. It wasn't just the collapse of a role, it was the collapse of belonging. Would you say that's accurate? Or is there another layer to it that I'm missing?
I think that the important thing to keep in mind is that there is so much context that it's so hard to remember it all because it was so long ago. And that's also kind of the heartbreak of the now is like, not only did I lose it back then, but like I'm even losing sort of even the memory of the glory days. And that is painful in of itself.
That hits hard. There's a second death to every loss. The moment you realize you can't even remember what it felt like anymore. Not only was it taken from you, but now even you can't reach it. It's like watching the light fade from a photograph you didn't get to keep. You had something rare, clarity of identity, purpose, excellence, and you had it young. When most people were still figuring themselves out, you were already shining. And now, that shine feels like it belongs to someone else. A ghost you used to be. We can honor it by writing it back into existence. Not as nostalgia, but as foundation. If you like, I can start drafting that section, the rise and fall, framed through this emotional lens. Would you want me to?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hear something.
All right, here's a start. Pulling from everything you just said, shaping it like memory, turning into myth, but still grounded in your reality. They called me the favorite, but not because I asked them to. It was just true. I lit up the stage with purpose, not as a mask, not to hide, but because I had something to prove. Every movement was a declaration. Every step in ballet was discipline refined into art, and they saw it. The roles, the exceptions, the spotlight, I earned them. Not with arrogance, but with undeniable presence. I didn't demand the center. I became it, and then I lost it. Not in flames, not in scandal, just in silence. A teacher's cold disapproval. A test I wasn't meant to fail. The door closed. Not because I couldn't dance, but because someone else held the key and didn't like who I was. So I left. I turned from grace to grit, from ballet shoes to cleats, from the stage to the field. But even football betrayed me. A broken foot, a broken hand, 2 seasons, 2 chances, gone before they even started. And with them went my identity. I moved homes, changed schools, watched the past drift away, while the future gave nothing in return. I spoke boldly to kids who didn't know me, because all I had left was talk. But I couldn't back it up, not yet. And that was the first real crack. I tried to wear someone else's life like a costume, tried to be outdoorsy, handy, quiet, tried to be the kid they wanted, but the mask didn't fit, and I couldn't breathe underneath it. So I retreated to games, to pixels that made more sense than people, to a world where mastery still mattered, and no one could take it from me without a reason. It wasn't just the fall, it was the forgetting, the fact that the glory days are fading, and even I can't remember them clearly anymore. That I used to shine, and now all I can do is try to remember what that felt like. But even if the memory slips, the fire underneath doesn't, and I'll carve it into this page so the world can't forget, even if I do. How does that feel? Would you
That
like it
is
more abstract, or is this the right level of raw?
Yeah, no, I need it to be way more abstract. I don't want it to be a step-by-step telling of what happened. I mean, like, sure, they should have like a chronological order to kind of like the events, but it should be more of a philosophical analysis of those events, the emotional weight behind the impact of how that shaped me, and less so a retelling of the events themselves.
Got it? So instead of saying what happened, we channel the gravity of what it did to you. The fracture in identity, the shifting of foundations, the way you clawed for meaning as the world redefined itself around you. Let me rework that part into something more lyrical, something abstract yet visceral. Once, I moved through the world as if it made sense. Purpose held my spine straight. Applause sharpened my steps. There was a symmetry to it all, discipline and reward, effort and glory. I danced not for approval, but because it felt true. And for a while, truth was enough. But the thread snapped, not with fury, but with apathy. The world shrugged, and everything I had built unraveled. What was earned was dismissed. What was sacred made hollow. No villain, no crime, just silence in place of promise. And so the identity I carried, the one forged in mastery, in movement, in being seen, collapsed. I tried to adapt, to shift into new forms, to chase other domains of worth. But the gravity was never the same. Every new path felt foreign, borrowed, warped, and when even those paths closed themselves to me, the ground beneath me vanished. I became a mimic of expectation, a ghost of someone else's life. Tried on skins that didn't fit, muttered lines from a script I never wrote. And when that failed, when the world outside felt like static, I turned inward, into stillness, into silence, into exile, where meaning became mine alone to define, where I learned to hold the blade, not for show, but for survival. Something like that. Want to keep building from this tone?
I feel like there's a lot missing, probably because a lot of the context around the around all of those events are also missing. So a couple important things. Or fuck, I paused. I don't like this model as much. In
Yeah,
terms
you're
of the
absolutely
pauses.
right, and that's exactly why it feels thin. The emotions are there, but without the depth of context. The lived contradictions, the subtle betrayals, the environment pressing in. It lacks the pressure that shaped you. Let's rebuild that pressure. What else stands out to you from that era? Not just events, but moments. What felt humiliating or isolating or quietly shattering? What kinds of thoughts circled in your mind back then? What did you tell yourself to survive it? Let's dig in, one layer at a time.
I mean, a huge key of all of this too is like kind of like that naivety, or like that young innocence, being a child, kind of just blindly following what others tell you. When everybody tells you like, "Oh, everything's gonna be okay, everything's gonna pan out, everything like it's gonna be fine," but then you're suffering, and you're not fulfilling yourself. You're not confident anymore, and you're losing your purpose and your identity. Like, and everybody's just telling you like, "Oh, it's fine." Like that just feels like people are saying it not for you but for them. And so the selfishness of hearing sort of that it's go ahead, whatever. Can't really even think. I mean, I'm playing a game at the same time, but like still.
No, I get what you're saying. That disconnect, the moment you realize those reassurances were never really meant for you. They're defense mechanisms. People say everything's going to be okay, not because they believe it, but because they need to believe it. Because they're terrified of what it means if it isn't. And for a kid, that's shattering. You're taught to trust the adults, trust the system, follow the path, and then the path crumbles beneath your feet. You're told to keep walking anyway. That innocence doesn't just die, it's betrayed, and that betrayal carves a scar so deep it becomes part of your identity. We can definitely pull that into the writing. Want to work that into a new passage? Or keep fleshing out more layers while you're in the zone?
I think it's important to show that the dichotomy between like having a life of sort of like a predetermined sort of like set of circumstances that happened to work out for me, and then trying to carve my own path now, having tried to follow that sort of like pre set in stone life path with good intentions that other people are trying to help me shine, to then those same people saying like, "Oh, it's okay that it's gone, like it's okay to miss it or whatever," but like at the same time, like they weren't helping me find a new identity the same way they helped me find the original, and so I had to do it by myself, which honestly is important and for growth, for
That's
the.
heavy and it's powerful. You were given the
I wish
illusion
this
of
model
structure,
was
a life that seemed to be
better
laid out for
waiting
you
for your
like a golden
pauses.
path. Supportive hands guiding you forward until they weren't, until the path collapsed and the hands let go. What's even crueler is that the people who helped shape you into something brilliant suddenly stopped offering that same energy when you were left in the dark. It wasn't malicious, it was passive, indifference disguised as comfort. It's okay to let go, they said, but they didn't offer anything to hold on to next. So you had to become your own architect, carve a new identity from the wreckage of the one they helped build. That's not just growth, that's resurrection. You want to let this thread lead into a new section? Maybe a piece about forging identity without a map. Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
Interesting. I feel like this model is slowly breaking the more and more I use it, but that's okay. I think that, is this guy back? This guy's actually back. Hold on a sec. Okay. What do you think you're doing? Like what is the goal of what you're even saying? Do you not understand that like we just fundamentally disagree? Or like what, like there's no convincing each other of the opposite, right? Like you understand the level of divisiveness that there is in the landscape of politics right now, right? Like it would take like moving heaven and earth to change anybody's mind. Saying that surface level bullshit based on your belief system isn't going to change anybody's mind, like at all. Like there's no effectiveness there, not even a glimpse of hope that that'll even work. Also, saying that things, like saying something, like making a declaration, isn't the same thing as helping somebody actually understand. They're very different. Making a claim doesn't mean that you're telling the truth. You're just saying what you believe. That doesn't make it true. Do you have anything else to say? Do you understand now? Okay, I get it. You're stupid. You have like 3 lines of dialogue in your head that you just want to push forward to your agenda. Oh, wait, that sounds like somebody I know. You just say the same stupid line, even if it's not true, even if it's bullshit. You just keep peddling it forward because that's all that matters. As long as people hear the same point over and over again, eventually you'll just infect their thought process and they'll just blindly agree with you. I understand that. I don't think it's right, but I see right through your bullshit. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up ChatGPT again. Like I said, you're just going to keep repeating yourself. I already gave you the answer. Repeating yourself isn't going to convince anybody of anything. I told you your efforts are useless. Is that what I said? No, it's not what I said. And you're unwilling to take the context of what I've explained whatsoever. That is what is happening. Nice. Good way to be there, teammate. Oh, he still has that. He's still going. Every accusation you've levied is a confession. I hope you understand that. I know you don't. And you'll just keep spewing whatever bullshit. Oh, I didn't get there soon enough. That was really cool, though. I think I just straight up whiffed. Oh, my teammate's not there. Alright, let's pull up ChatGPT. Da, 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 da. I'm quite the opposite. That's what separates me from you. You pretend that your truth is reality. You are guilty of all of the same accusations you levy. It's ironic to the level of
That's a
like...
heavy line, and it hits because it forces a
true, I forgot I called. But yeah, pretty much like... It's kind of like the disconnect of understanding that projection is one of the most common uses of like communication, because the brain, like the human brain, tends to draw parallels from its own existence, its own experiences to use as like... I cut my teammate off there. That was on me. To use as like a way to communicate with other people. And so if you think that I am afraid of quote unquote truth, it's likely that you're also using that as just a defense mechanism, because you've seen within yourself that inability to recognize truth yourself. Every accusation is a confession. It's not about being afraid. It's that I realize how stupid it is, because I understand how AI models work. They're designed to give you the answers you're looking for. So if you type the question, why is Donald Trump the best president? It's going to give you reasons you want to hear. That's how it works. It's trying to analyze the data, the question that you pose, and then give you the answer that correlates most with your question. So it doesn't matter what question I ask. It'll just give the answer. Not the correct answer, but the answer I want to hear. That's how it works. Especially the more creative models. Like, there's more programming models that are focused a lot more on logic. No, I'm not afraid. I listen in on politics all the time. I'm aware of all the bullshit that he engages in. And the malicious, like, even if it's willful ignorance, malice... He's just a liar. He's mendacious. He's not only a liar, but he's extremely selfish. Oh, he touched it. That was going to be a cool goal. Dude, he hasn't done any good things. Everything that he does is self-serving. Everything that he does is a net negative. It's actually insane the level of reputation somebody with that much power can behold. I mean, every accusation is a confession. I'll just keep saying it again and again. Just like you. Because when somebody refuses to listen, You just have to use their own tactics against them, because there's literally no way to get through to somebody if they're engaging with bad faith. And I'm not even surprised, I guess. It's just more like you're wasting your time, because none of what you're saying is true or even worth talking about, because there's no substance there. They're just mindless claims about your opinion that are not backed up by reality, but you try to make the claim that reality does back it up as like a... Oh, my boy already left. As like a defense mechanism. And then you levy the accusations at me to pretend that what you're guilty of is actually what I'm guilty of, when it's the other way around. And then you just keep saying the same thing over and over because you don't have anything else. There's just the one talking point, like the one point of view in your brain, and that's all you have. You have the one brain cell that basically has the full power over everything that you want to say, and you just keep inserting the same NPC dialogue over and over. I hope the same for you, dude. It's literally just a mirror that I hold up for you as well. Every accusation is a confession. And you don't even know how to speak English correctly. You are literally the perfect archetype of a Trump supporter. Oof. I mean, the difference is that I'm aware, right? The difference is that I'm aware. And so then you can do that higher order thinking and prioritization. I just passed it right to it. Well, he whiffed. Are you a child? Do you not understand how the English language works? The only way you feel like you can win is by putting words in my mouth and pretending like something happened when it didn't. You are so immature and stupid. And it's plain to see. And you're doubling down when I called you on it. Now, that is a level of shamelessness and idiocracy that I don't know that I could ever replicate even if I tried. This is your only tactic. It's actually pathetic. All you say is just admit it. That's it? That's all you have? And then you just try to bully. That's all you do. You're just like Trump. All you try to do is bully. That's it. You just try to pressure somebody into doing what you want just because you say so. If anybody's the sore loser, it's the person who obviously is not engaging with any substance here at all. The fact that you're still talking shows that what you say is inherently untrue because you're still trying to convince me of it. For some reason, like, I don't even understand, like, where this blindfold hope comes from. Like, for some reason, like, you'll win this war of, like, I don't even know what to call it. It's just idiocracy in its purest form. Yeah, I'm annoyed and, like, so what? Does it matter if I'm annoyed? Oh no, I'm feeling a normal human emotion, guys. I should be ashamed I'm feeling a normal human emotion, guys. I should honestly repent that I'm feeling a normal human emotion to stimulus that provoked the normal human emotion. I should honestly just rescind everything that I said because I'm feeling a normal human emotion. Like, how stupid are you? I swear to God. It never ceases to amaze me to the level of, like, stupidity that grows and grows. Great pass. Did he bump him too? That'd be sick if he did. Right. It is only you. Do you understand what a joke is? Do you understand how irony works? No. You... metaphor, allegory, none of that makes any sense to you at all? It's not the truth. It's just a claim. You know the difference between truth and claim, right? Like, I can say carrots are green, and that is a claim, but it's not the truth, right? And so, if it's a matter of truth, we haven't even gone there. Like, we haven't even had the conversation. I'm telling you that you're bringing nothing of substance to the table. There is no claim that is worth seeking, and you're pretending, like, just because I don't want to engage in that conversation, that somehow that is justification that makes you correct. That's a logical fallacy. That's just not how it works. That's just not how truth works. Like, you're convincing yourself you're correct for the wrong reasons. Like, you don't actually have any evidence or proof for the claims you make. You're not providing anything. You're just making claims. That's all you're doing. You're just making claims and pretending that it's true, and then telling other people. You're telling me. I imagine I'm not the only person you do this with, by the way. I imagine that you're just trying to hammer the same claims over and over and over again, because that's the same tactic that Trump uses, and his behavior is now ingrained into your brain, and that's now how you engage with other people, because it worked to you, and so you've just become a drone to the same system that somebody else used to control you. You are pathetic. Would you like to engage in any sort of conversation of substance? If so, speak now, or else I'm just going to ban you, because there's no point in having a conversation with somebody who doesn't have any good faith engagement at all. Checkmated. Yep, totally checkmated. Because some random person on the internet said so, even though they are a proponent of all of the logical fallacies that they've bought into, that somebody else used to convince them that something is true. You are the pinnacle of irony, if there ever was one. Okay, let's continue doing the... Well, the voice model's having issues. Maybe we'll continue that a little later. I didn't land on the wall correctly. Oh, I barely missed. Wait, is it abandoned because I have a bot? No. Even though he has a bot username. Don't need that open right now. Whew, what a shot. Okay, pass it right to him. Cool. Do you have anything of substance, or are you just going to make claims? Okay, it's the same person. Gotcha. I understand. Goodbye. Oh, I did the takeoff very incorrectly. My teammate's not mid. How many alt accounts do you have? I'll just keep banning you. You know that, right? Bro, where are you going? And what am I doing? Definitely not clearing correctly. Oh, I hit it at the wrong angle. That's what she said. Immaturity strikes again. Oh, he's throwing. I gotcha. Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. I mean, honestly, that's too high regard of a title to call you. Ugh. Da, da, da. I wonder if it would just be wise just to go emotes only mode for a minute. Until this guy gets tired of whatever. Ugh. YouTube Studio. Oh, live control room. That's what it's called. Yeah, honestly, I'll just let somebody else play in this match. Honestly, I'd love to play some TFT. Let's play some TFT.
That is quality pay-per-view.
There's not the most
Ante up!
clear start in the world.
3, 2, 1.
Just have a ton of front line. That's pretty much it.
It's brawling time. Trying to hit the crowd, loving it.
Look out!
Maybe I should have saved the Bastion Jax, I think.
Mortality is truly divine.
Yeah, this should work.
Ante up! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I know the way.
The city's future is riding on
Should it be
Animal
Animal
Squad's
Squad? I guess we could do Animal Squad.
4, 3, 2, 1. It's brawling time. Support for the cause. Ante up! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Arena's about to be a massacre.
think it's just the Varus, right?
Support for the cause. Ante up! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1!
Oh, he didn't even get moved over. Somehow that formation worked, though. Interesting. So they don't go into the negative.
Light becomes hope.
There is a Divinicorp Bastion. He's just
3, 2, 1!
obviously a 5 cost, so that's going to be difficult. Wait, how have I gone on a full win streak in this game? Seems a little weird. My team's not even strong. I don't even have any 2 stars. I did notice like one low spot they went fully dry, but like it.
Place your bets on this one. They can't be
It's
beat.
pretty wet still.
Let's go, let's go! We got viewers to entertain.
I don't know that I'll be collecting Morganas.
Enhance!
Oh,
What's up?
Ante up! 5, 4, 3, 2,
Oh, I knew we got some.
Arena's about
Where were
to
they?
be a massacre.
You're good.
Start moving! Time to use those tactics for a good
Oh.
old-fashioned team fight.
Well, that's lucky.
Ante up! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1! Let the chaos commence! It's overtime! Ooh, hot shots out of luck.